Hello, and welcome to another episode of Glorious Life on Wheels. Today, I want to share with you an email that I received a couple of weeks ago, and it literally broke my heart. It was from an 80-some-year-old woman who told me a story about what was happening to her. Over the last several years, every year, her rent increased. And as it increased, she would make additional sacrifices and cuts to the point that she was only eating one meal a day. Well, this year, as she got her rent increase, she knew she wasn't going to be able to make enough cuts to be able to make that rent. And so she wrote to me in the email, and she was telling me about how she was going to have to move into her car. And she expressed such fear and anxiety about the prospect of doing that. Well, shortly after getting that email, I met up with Lindy from Lindy's Awesome Van Adventure, and we were both talking about the emails we get on a regular basis and how they're becoming more increasing from women, especially senior women, who are now having to move into their vehicles, not by choice, but out of financial necessity. So we decided that we would do a video. Actually, Lindy is going to be sharing in this video some of her experiences when she first started out. I know that these tips won't change anyone's circumstance, but we're hopeful that Lindy, having been a full-time nomad for 4 years living in her van, now at age 77. We're hoping that some of the information and suggestions that she offers will be of some help and some encouragement to those who are facing similar circumstances. So come on and let's listen to what Lindy has to say. Hello, Lindy.
Good morning.
How's it going?
Great.
Well, today we're going to be talking about a topic that is going to impact a lot of people coming up, and that is what to do if you're in a situation, you have low income, you're perhaps no longer able to afford the place that you're living, and you're going to have to move into a vehicle. You've been in your vehicle living full-time now for how many years?
Almost 4.
Almost 4.
Yeah.
So you've learned some things, some valuable information about how to survive, and even equally important is how to manage financially. So we're going to give some tips, or you're going to give some tips today on some things someone would need to know, and maybe steps they need to take if they're having to move into a vehicle, not by choice, but out of necessity. So let's say you have a person who is a senior, they're living strictly on Social Security, a very limited amount, have no savings, and they're finding themselves in a situation where they're having to move into their vehicle. What do you think would be the first thing you would tell them to do in preparation?
I would tell them, start selling everything you've got and try to come up with some sort of money, to keep yourself going. And start checking out your vehicle and start setting it up. You don't buy. Try to use what you have, as much of it as you can.
So first step would be to whatever they can sell to get some extra cash, maybe to have some emergency funds because they don't have any savings right now.
Yeah, where are they going to put their stuff? If they move into a car or a van, they have no place for their stuff, so they got to get rid of it. So it's either the dumpster, Goodwill, or selling.
Or storage, but we talked about that.
That's pretty expensive.
Very expensive, and that money would probably be better spent putting in savings for emergencies.
Yeah.
All right, so first thing is sell what they have. Second thing is, what would they do in terms of where to park? What do you suggest as far as that and traveling and, moving around?
Well, I didn't move because you don't have any money. If you don't have any money, you're not going to travel. I didn't move my first 2.5 years because I didn't have the money. Even though I was working and Social Security. Gas is really, really expensive. And I didn't have the money. So you need to find a place in your area. I stayed in my area until I could come up with some money before I ever took my first trip. When you take your first trip, wherever you go, you better spend 2 to 3 weeks to a month to make it worth your while. But I stayed my first 2 years just in one tiny little area and going from little town to little town and finding places where I could live.
So your second tip is not to be traveling because that consumes a lot of money and gas.
You don't have the money, you don't travel.
And just stay in one location and find a safe place, or actually probably you need 3 or 4 safe places.
You need 3 or 4 because you don't want to go to the same place every night. You want to go from I move 4 or 5 times a day.
Okay.
I go from different places all day long. You know, I take Marley a certain place so she can go potty that she likes to potty at. Then I go to this place or that place. I do end up at the same park every day that I love, but it's a park, so anybody can come here, and nobody's going to get mad or upset.
And then you have a couple of places that you sleep at night.
Mm-hmm. Well, I have about 5, but
Okay.
not in the same little town. I go to the different little towns around me.
But they're close.
They're all within 10 miles.
Okay. Okay.
So I'll go 10 miles here or 10 or 15 miles there because I have spots there that I know I can spend a night or 2.
Okay.
So it's never in one place.
What would you suggest for someone who, say, their local area is either freezing in the winter, sub-zero, or so hot in this summer, and we're having a heat wave right now, that it's really dangerous for them to be in that area in a vehicle? What would you suggest for someone who's in a location that has extreme climates?
They're going to have to save up their money and find a place they can go to that is not as extreme. You can't stay in that kind of extreme weather. You can stay there in between, like in fall, but not in winter. In the spring, but not in the summer.
Okay.
If you do decide a place that, like RTR, everybody goes to in the winter.
So RTR is the Rubber Tramp Rendezvous in Quartzsite.
It's Quartzsite. So you could go to Quartzsite in the winter, but you certainly don't want to be there in the summer.
Okay, so your next tip then is
follow the weather if you can afford it, but find a place you can stay for months all summer, not for a month or 2 and travel again all summer.
So find somewhere that's temperate in the summer that you could stay there.
Right.
Say maybe up in the mountains, Flagstaff or somewhere perhaps.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And then in the winter find somewhere again like maybe Quartzsite where you could stay for several months at a low cost. And what about, now you were saying that you worked part-time. So what do you suggest about that?
I say they should try to work part-time. I worked at Walmart part-time. I'm still working because I'm a YouTuber, so I still work. Get a kind of a job that still brings you a little bit of money if you're able to do it.
If you're able, yeah.
If you're able. If you can't leave your house, maybe you can find, and this is where Creativity RV comes in. She has a book with all kinds of jobs you can do on the internet, sitting in front of a computer.
Right.
You can teach yourself how to use that, or have somebody come in and help you and show you. And there's all kinds of jobs you can do on the internet. So you can't, number one, what do you do for 24 hours a day in a van? So don't you want something to do? Now it could be a hobby, but a hobby costs money. If you crochet, you're buying yarn.
Right.
Anything you do is going to cost money. So why not do something that doesn't cost you but pays you?
Okay, so if you can, get some way to supplement your income.
Yeah, keep your brain sharper.
One of the other main expenses is food. So what would your recommendations be as far as lowering the cost of your food?
Well, if you're going to invest and you know you're going to be there for a while, you need to, as you accumulate your money, invest in a refrigerator. Now, I have a dual. Now, the problem with that is before you even can invest in that, you have to have solar, or you have to have something you can use that will keep that going. Otherwise, you're buying ice. You can buy a refrigerator and you don't have any solar, then it's one of the best things is as cooler as a refrigerator, and you put ice in it. Then the ice costs you money.
Now, you were saying that even if you have solar, sometimes you have to have a backup system.
Yeah.
So maybe just get the backup system
Yeah.
first. Like, what is your backup system?
If I had anything to change, I bought solar generators first, and it wasn't cheap, and panels. That's not cheap. I wished I would have seen this Sportsman 1,000-watt gas generator. It was under $300. I would have started out with that. It's a $300 investment. That's it. It can even run a small air conditioner. It can run everything.
And it runs your refrigerator.
And it runs my refrigerator. You know, if I didn't have it, it's loud. That's the problem. Okay? Wherever you're at, if you're in a town, you got to find a place you can run that generator. You can't just run it anywhere. That's why I got the solar, because of the noise. It's really a flip. If you're out and you can stay, then the generator, it's really up to you.
But it sounds like the most economical. We're talking about someone
Right.
who is in
Has
a
no
dire
money whatsoever.
dire financial situation, has very little income coming in. So you're saying that probably their first step would be to get a small, inexpensive generator.
Yeah, that is the cheapest way. Because it's under $300, you can run everything in there.
So having a refrigerator, having a inexpensive way to operate that refrigerator. So now what about food? How about being able to get your meals? I presume you're not eating out a lot.
I never eat out.
Okay.
I did last night because somebody sent me some. But anyway, you should be doing all your own cooking. That is the only way to save money. And if you can get a couple cans of beans and some rice, that can last you for weeks. You really need to learn how to eat properly. Eat and save money. You have to be frugal.
Now, you took me over last night, because I'm up here visiting you. You took me over to a grocery outlet. Mm-hmm. So buying at places where they have sales and
Right.
inexpensive prices on food.
Yeah, like 2 for $1. I do grocery outlet. Walmart is not always the cheapest place.
Right.
I price everybody around. So yeah, they're $4 or $5 more expensive than grocery outlet on hamburger meat.
So basically, also, we were talking, and you plan your meals to some extent around what is on sale at the store.
Yes, I do.
So if you go in the store and they have a certain item,
Then that's my meal for the week.
Okay.
I cook for a week at a time, and I eat the same food a week at a time.
Okay.
So for every meal, if I have chili, well, I only eat maybe 2 meals a day. It's usually one, or
Okay.
maybe 2. It's going to be chili for a week until that chili's gone, and then I'm going to make the next week. I don't want to use propane, so I soak my propane. I make big pots of everything. Then I put them in baggies, and I put them in my fridge, because for a week they'll stay good. Or if you want to freeze them, you can.
So you're saving in several ways. You're saving by buying in volume,
Yeah.
by buying what's on sale, by cooking with what's on sale,
Yeah.
and then only cooking your main meal one time a week, so
Right.
you're not using up all the
Right.
propane. So that's really saving in a lot of different ways.
It's saving. You're not using the propane. So 1 can of propane can last me 3 months.
And
The way I cook.
How much does that can of propane cost you?
$3.12. I can get it for $2 if I drive to Vacaville and get it from an Asian market. Asian markets are cheaper on butane. Now I use butane, not propane.
Okay. Last thing I want to discuss with you about moving into a vehicle. You're not here advocating or encouraging
No.
people to do it.
No.
But what you're saying is some things that could be helpful. Now, one thing I want to address is fear, because so many people who write to me, especially older women who find themselves in this situation or are going to move into a vehicle, they're scared. And they, hear all these stories about what's happening. And do you live in fear in your vehicle?
I don't live in fear, but I will say everybody's going to be naturally scared, and you should be scared. If you're scared, you're going to be alert, and you're going to be aware of your surroundings, okay? A little bit of fear doesn't hurt anybody, but it shouldn't stop you. People are getting their apartments broken into, houses. Nothing is secure unless you are aware. No matter where you're at, you need to be aware of your surroundings. You need to listen.
So it sounds like your last tip is be mindful of your surroundings and be vigilant, not living in fear, but living in awareness. And it's natural to be fearful going into something new that's so different, and that's not something that will stay with you in a state of panic as you start to get accustomed to it. Is that correct?
Yeah, you'll become accustomed to it, but you need to learn that you are outside in an environment which was becoming more and more dangerous every day.
Okay.
So that's your awareness of where you feel safe in parking. If you get a bad feeling, leave. And no matter what, you're going to have an incident.
And the incident you're not talking about
Maybe
something
a knock
scary.
on the window.
Yeah.
It may be the police. It may be, you're going to have an incident. Or there's just all kinds of things people do.
But your main takeaway here is follow your gut, trust your gut.
Yep.
If you get that spiny, hair-raising feel in the back of your neck, move.
Move.
And, just because someone comes up to you, if you see someone coming up and you kind of feeling about them, turn the key on and leave.
Yeah.
So 4 years and counting, but you said that that's not going to be another 4 years.
No, I think next year will be, due to my health, I think next year will be my last year, and I plan on finding a tiny house.
All right. Well, we'll follow you with your tiny house journey. All right. Thanks, Lindy, and we'll be talking again soon. Bye-bye.